Only the winners get to go into the book.
So
I mean, you should tank it on purpose just for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
you go to Bill Gunner.
yeah, Bill Gunner says, yeah.
Actually, if you don't register,
you can go to Bill Gunner's.
See, it was between that or Carolina Panther tickets, and I'm glad we at least chose Bill Gunner's house because then you don't have to wait as long.
And I was told Gunner was actually
Here today.
So you did show up. Told you.
Yeah.
Told you.
Yeah. How about that? And it'll be here tomorrow, I'm told.
New year, new Bill.
He's doing well.
I'm proud.
We will speak later on today with our good friend Brad Muller, who we hope can drop by. He's gonna attempt it like Jordan did.
Jordan made it.
He did.
I had no doubt in my mind.
But we'll talk to Brad about what's going on. No Gamecock men's basketball game tonight. They've got their kind of midweek things off. And after a 5-game run against ranked opponents, they need a breather.
Call that a 5-game gauntlet.
Yeah.
That is
They passed.
that's life in the SEC, man. That's life. That's life in this conference.
Lamont Paris will have Carolina calls, and the Gamecocks back at it on Saturday against Maine. So we'll talk a little more basketball and some things going on with Jordan. Jordan was listening to us. We appreciate it the other day when we were speaking with Jeremiah Donati. And we'll talk about more of what Jordan thinks of what the kind of where these things stand on the big ticket items.
It's a fun discussion.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was good.
It
It was a good hang.
We also today got new information, and this is not a surprise. I think it's a surprise to some who wanted to believe something else was going to happen.
There was a lot of hopium being distributed unlawfully among certain fan bases.
Realistic is maybe the better, honest way to say it.
Ain't nothing about hopium that's realistic, brother. Ain't none of it realistic. That's why it's a powerful drug.
Disney and announced today that they will indeed be picking up the remainder of the ACC television contract that will run through 2036. February 1 was the deadline for Disney to decide if they had decided not to pick up the contract.
So they would have been televising ACC games for 2 more seasons, 2 years. Then they would have worked. But a lot throughout the last few months, they've been screaming, Florida State and Clemson need to leave and go to the SEC. That's huge buyout, penalty for leaving.
Yeah, these contracts are pretty enforced.
And both schools, the Atlantic Coast Conference, over different things in their own states. Countersued up in Charlotte, where their headquarters are. And I got some details. Not a lot, I've got some things
on this that we'll talk about coming up in a little bit.
I guess lends itself to why the talk of just it was never.
Yeah, I think we can label this the "We Told You So" show.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I don't want to do that, but
in some ways, we tried to. In some ways, I think that everything that broke today in terms of the ACC news were things that I think we explained pretty thoroughly as to why Clemson ain't leaving the ACC.
Right.
Because they have nowhere to go.
Right.
And
it benefits them best to stay where they're at.
Right.
And there could be some things that make it benefit. But we'll discuss those. We'll discuss those coming up. Combined seas here. On Forest Drive, come say hey, we are on Forest, directly across the street from we are in the same building right there. Bonefish, know this area, know exactly what I'm talking about. Stop like here in this building. So you can find parking.
Going on. Some good details. Spread from I'm not sure exactly what it is.
I did see some video.
Yeah.
I saw some cookies.
Oh, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. You might not get me back with a headset on if that's the case.
Well,
Well,
They don't call me the Cookie Monster for nothing.
I'll do what I can. But we've got
sick.
As well. 803-404-6100. Part of the program on the text line. One other thing I saw that you made news.
I really want to hear.
I saw that the commissioner of the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
He's even taller than you,
I think.
He is. And he went to Duke, and he didn't play basketball.
Wants to, he's open to further dive on making the
games 40 minutes.
Because all other levels of
high levels of basketball are 40 minutes. Professional basketball, international play basketball, collegiate basketball, United States.
I think it sucks.
Yeah.
I think that is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. If you think the time of the games is an issue, then how about we not take an hour on reviews? How about we start basketball games on time? Say they're going to start. Because how many times we tune into an NBA game where it's like, yep, games would tip off at 8:30 and it's 8:45. I mean, they're almost as bad as college football and college basketball. College football being the national championship game, everything's like 7:30 kick. It's 7:42. And we're still at a commercial break before the opening kickoff. The NBA, they're pretty bad at that. So if you think timing of the game is an issue or the pace of your game is an issue, I vote on being cordial as opposed to changing the foundation of what it is.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
interesting. But you make
solution to the problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think some people think that, I think one of the things he said was
just to prevent some of these
management concerns.
Yes, the begging of guys to go show up to their jobs.
Yeah. I don't know. I made a little note of that and wrote that down, so I thought maybe that would be something that.
He was like, "Yeah, I want
and it's just silly. It's silly. Yeah, exactly. And like and I'm not going to sit here and act like I have all the solutions to the NBA's problems. The NBA does need to fix viewership. They do need to keep as relevant as possible in 2025. And I think they're at a challenge more than any other professional sports league in America because they're the only professional sports league where the product has actually gotten significantly better over time, and fewer people are watching after the product has gotten better in terms of talent, the scoring. And I before anyone tells me they don't play defense, how about you go guard Steph Curry 40 feet from the basket, right? Like, it's hard. Like, players are just better.
If anybody complains about the NBA not playing defense, they're just doing it wrong. So when I was a kid, if you
games were like anything below like 110, 13, like pretty all
right.
Bricks. 120 something, 118, whatever. I think honestly, there are big
and it's a marketing thing. Yeah, maybe it doesn't market the stars that are not over the age of 31 or under the age of 31.
Think about it, man.
John Morant got in trouble. There's people want to latch on to somebody. We find now just doing well and they're doing well, but they're not as popular.
Because the NBA is not doing it right. The Houston Rockets are second in the Western Conference. Jay, how many Houston Rockets players can you name?
Whoa!
Okay.
Mike Dunleavy from back in the day.
Okay.
Ralph
You're only off the mark by like 30 years. But other than that, yeah, and that's the issue. The Houston Rockets are a fun basketball team. But no, he's in Toronto now. Just kidding. But Alperen Sengun is one of like the rising stars in basketball, and you know what? That was a name that I told you when we played over the summer. Is this a real or fake NBA player? And you said fake. And this is a guy that's a borderline all-star. I think he should be an all-star. I'm a huge fan of this kid's game. Amen Thompson just hit a buzzer beater to beat the Celtics in Boston the other night. And you know what you see when you turn on ESPN? Who's the best trade fit for the Los Angeles Lakers? Buddy, they are fighting for their playoff lives. No one should realistically care outside of Laker fandom. Who the Lakers are interested in free agents?
I've said many times
the NBA does this to themselves, and their media partners do this to themselves.
Listen, he's like, listen, they people back in the day at ESPN.
Yeah, and like that is so bad for the overall health of the sport because what's the league going to do when LeBron James retires? He can't play forever. He's going to try, but he cannot play forever.
803-404-6100. Jordan K is with us. We'll talk to the Gamecocks on the other side. What he thought of what we discussed with Jeremiah tonight at the end of the day, other things going on around Gamecocks and we are live at ProSwing on Forest Drive. Come say we're here until 6. The inaugural tournament underway. Great prizes up for grabs. And a lot of fun. Wow, supplies.
Yeah, I've heard that in commercials before.
That's like a commercial.
It's one of those commercial buzz phrases that I hear it and it means nothing to me.
Yeah, well, those like when those T-shirts are gone.
That's right. We have plenty of them. So if you're just in need of a really cool 107.5 The Game shirt, we ain't gonna charge you for it. Just walk in, take it.
That's right.
You can. Yeah. I ain't gonna stop you.
If you want to call,
I love apple juice.
do that for you too.
That's what that is, right?
All right, let's get these guys in.
And I'm gonna need you to move in a little bit so we can see your pretty face as well.
Oh, baby.
And then Jordan can sit right here.
All right.
Yes.
This, yeah, get some. What is it, Ed?
Among others, like.
Thank you. Okay, I'll check it.
Thank you, Edward. We sound all right. We sound good, right? Hey, thank you, Edward. I think you look good. Now they can point at you. See, I forget now that's not going through my laptop. I can just point at the camera.
And while we're here at ProSwing, I love telling you about our good friends at Integrated Media. They are the brains behind the outfit here. Michael, Nathan, David, Evan, Philip, the whole group. Everybody, a lot of people here today. Nathan's here. David's here. And they've done all the AV work here. They can do all the AV work for your home, for your business. If you are in need of better home theater, maybe from the ground up, you want to take your home theater equipment to the next level with the modern touch. Integrated Media makes that happen. And they make house calls. They come to you. You heard me right. They come to you. 803-948-8327. Wi-Fi that works everywhere. Now, so many of us are streaming our entertainment. Kids like to play their video games with their buddies, all across wherever. You can do that. You're still working from home. Make sure that's all done too. One room, whole house, indoors, outdoors. Integrated Media makes your home theater experience even better. 803-948-8327. Integrated Media. Yeah, I wanted to know. This red over here sometimes like gets too sticky and like won't even. Like the other day,
They sent you to Athens over.
No, thank God. Did you go?
Do you want to just take this one out?
That was so
Is
bad.
that the one that's not working?
Thankfully, I had
Are you going to go to Nashville?
Yeah.
Are you?
and I'll get to see you. So I'm excited.
Yeah. You know
I
what?
figured they're like, you can't get to do it.
Put it in that one.
And like I've got a free place to stay.
Will you record out there? Go to the
Probably.
studio?
And yeah, because their cumulus station is like on the other side of the bridge. It's like like where Bridgestone is, like on the corner.
Yeah.
You keep going past
Jordan, that's you.
past the bridge over to the west end of town. It's right. It's like on Music Road.
Oh, that's
So it's and they've got a really nice like auxiliary studio that I used and I was just live from last time.
So was my microphone not loud enough?
Somebody on the video stream said
Good
that
now?
you sounded drowned out, but Ed said you sound fine. So I'll take Ed's advice, or I'll take Ed's evaluation of how you sound as a
Okay.
seasoned radio veteran.
Okay.
I love Craig. He's a valued listener. Really good dude. Love his comments. But if you sound good, if Ed thinks you sound good, I'm taking it. I love when Tennessee's here. It's so much orange. Tennessee, Georgia, September 13th this year. For the last time we were here, they let me do the driving range on one of these things. And I about swung my arm out of my socket trying to get the ball to go to like 250. It's always jarring. The first time you walk in here, when you hear somebody with a driver hit the ball, it scares the shit out of you. Like
They've only been open 2 weeks.
That's 2 weeks, yeah, because we were here for their grand. We did a show here for the opening, and that was about 2 Fridays ago, I think.
Gosh.
2 or 3. I can't remember. It all runs together. My brain is a potato. It is Friday.
With basketball.
Yeah. I always love it, but I feel like I've nothing to stare at screens the last 2 months. Actually, football too, like the last 6.
Yeah.
Staring at screens. Thankfully, basketball is bad enough where I'm not going to have to pay too much attention to play Florida in a couple of weeks ago. My girlfriend and I were going to Nashville for a concert. Like, this is a much needed. Like,
I thought you were going to say we went to the Vandy, South Carolina game.
Oh God! No. Oh God!
I was like,
that one was bad enough on TV.
I was like, how did you drag there to that? What concert did you see?
Oh, we're it's coming up.
Oh,
next month. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I was at the meltdown here.
Gotcha.
But Father John Misty's playing at the Ryan.
Oh, wow.
Valentine's Day. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to make it a mission to watch the next day.
19 minutes after 3 o'clock. Thursday. Welcome back into the postgame show. Broadcasting from ProSwing on Forest Drive.
ProSwing.
Happening here tomorrow as well.
Swing a few clubs tomorrow.
You should. You should. Take you a couple hacks.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the league. Always a pleasure to talk with our buddy Jordan. He and I got the memo. You clearly did not.
We were representing our.
I should be the one that's the most excited. They just signed an all-star yesterday.
And yet,
no support.
Not
support.
Sad.
I'm a realist. You know what? When we start getting the results, then maybe I'll get more wear of that Pete Rose jersey. I can only wear so many times. Hey, quiet. Well, that's been the hard part for them.
Yeah, that's it.
Jordan, let's jump in. You want to critique us as well. Your overall thought, and I'm sure you've had other interactions since Jeremiah not even hired his job, but not just about what he Elijah talked to Jeremiah about just your early thoughts on how the job's going.
Yeah, I thought he brought up a lot of points, and I was impressed with how candid he was, especially about the Lamont Paris stuff. I thought he didn't swerve around the question that Elijah asked about, hey, was there any, somewhat a coincidence that Don Staley's contract came, days after the NCAA tournament chairs for women? And he kind of addressed it. He's like, hey, that's actually a nice little bonus that we're going to have. And, that might start coming due, but kind of explain that, hey, Don Staley brings more than whatever the bottom line is of the women's basketball team. So that was interesting. The thing he keeps bringing up is the what do you call it? The fair price of an NIL deal. I don't know if that's – I just have a hard time believing that's actually ever going to happen. I just feel like that induces so many lawsuits. What's to say someone can't just sue? If you have no protection from the government, someone could just sue and say, this person says my fair market value is whatever this company is willing to pay me. How I just have no way of seeing that that's actually going to be enforced.
I've seen a couple of things that were ready to file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
They don't get the information they want back. And what Jordan's referring to, if y'all don't know, NCAA has hired Deloitte, the big financial services firm, to be a third-party arbiter of fair market value NIL deals. In other words, if it's a deal for $600, You submit it to the NCAA. They submit it to Deloitte. Looks at it and goes, that's fair market value. Or they go, no, that's way too much.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
And the penalty would be like not playing. You can't play.
Yeah, and I just look. We didn't have time the other day to get into it with Jeremiah, but I'll come back around to the stuff with Carolina. I still believe the only way, not the best way, to take this
kind of manner
is
to collectively bargain.
Yeah.
and don't know how you collectively bargain
With people who aren't employees.
And that's the thing I think that is uncharted territory is that we don't have enough of that.
Yeah.
So I'll be hearing, you talked about the fact that they are looking for some form of federal antitrust protection and a federal law that will supersede any state law. Because right now, that's what we have is a whole, just mishmash of state laws that say you, NCAA, can't punish our schools if you don't like what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's, ultimately not sustainable.
Yeah.
So, but again, collectively bargaining with a group that enough student athletes can latch onto and lend validity to is going to be very, very helpful. And then, I'm kind of look. I think one of the points that Jeremiah was probably not dancing around, but maybe didn't get straight at. And I mean, that's
in a good way.
Is it the retinal concentration?
Oh, yeah.
Just a no-show job.
Yeah.
For a job.
Yeah.
Right. At least go do the job.
Yes.
That's all. He was talking about a guy that used to have a $10,000 contract, 20 years ago, to go fly and do stuff, and show up, and earn your money.
Yeah.
As long as you're earning money,
Yeah.
then maybe it is whatever's like. Now, up to a point, if some local car dealer somewhere, I'll give you $5 million for 2 commercials, or you might that might be a problem.
Yeah. There's also like ways of, people are just going to find loopholes to this too. Think about when the NIL thing came about. What was that? 2021. I think we all thought, hey, this is just going to be the local pizza place paying the quarterback. And then I remember Tennessee was the first one who's like, we have this thing called a collective, and this is how we're going to game the system. And it's like, there are just going to be these things that happen where maybe the car dealer doesn't pay $5 million directly to the quarterback, but maybe gives it to the school somehow, and then through the actual rev share, then the school gives that. There's going to be ways around this, and I don't think anyone really knows what it's going to look like. It sounds like, though, he's trying to get at least some sort of structure in place to be like, hey, we need to be able to have the folks, the lawyers, the agency people in the same room and under the South Carolina umbrella, so that when these things do come about, like, we have the folks to be able to attack it.
And I love the fact that we've
made mention of this a bunch. He comes from
before,
yeah,
because he's been at TCU a long time as an associate AD, and then he's been with their AD for over 7 years.
Yeah.
But before that, worked for Lee Steinberg.
Yeah.
And in that realm, which I think is such a huge benefit to this day and age. But I just they get antitrust protection, and it allows the NCAA to make moves that would otherwise be illegal. But I can still see that
being challenged and taken to the Supreme
Court. I don't.
Nothing.
I get it. I get what they want to do, and I get that they want to put some level of protection around amateur sports.
Yeah.
And I'm for that. I just again, we seem to get
there's no way around it too. And I was kind of thinking too when we were talking about like the fair market evaluation.
Yeah.
So someone getting to decide what's fair and not fair is kind of anti-free market, which is ultimately what we're going to become, because like you do have the freedom to make bad financial decisions if you're a car dealership and you pay this quarterback who might not play, $300,000 to come to this school, right? You have the freedom to kind of jack the market up the same way, the Jacksonville Jaguars did the slot receiver market with Christian Kirk, right?
Yeah.
Like that was a big deal to give that guy a lot of money, because now, above average slot receivers are going to be worth more money. And like at that point, you can't go back, right? Once that market has been set, you can't really go back. So now with the deals that we've already seen in place, you can't really go back.
Yeah.
Right? That it doesn't free market doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And guess what? We haven't done on that. Gone back.
Right.
Yeah.
They've all got bigger.
Now,
Yeah. Well, I think that's what Donati was saying. He was presenting to the board of trustees a couple weeks ago and was saying, hey, like in the end, we want something where we can like cap this. And he's like, you know what? That includes head coach salaries. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Mhm.
And I think that's probably a world that seems a million years away right now with all the interest. But yeah, the fair market thing, like one of the board trustees is like, I was a divorce attorney. And he's like, this would never, like, what are you talking? Like, this would just get sued to like ashes. He's like, how is this going to work? And he was just like kind of calling it out. Like, this is never happened.
It wasn't Jeffrey Kessler. It was one of the attorneys. I can't remember. One of the attorneys from
these things. So,
as soon as somebody doesn't like what the boy tells them,
Oh, it's over.
Yeah.
you can't
get
get
the arbitrarily. Who are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the NCAA
hired you.
And look, it's a fine international firm that knows what they're doing.
Who's just going to be using a lot of AI to come up with the words.
It's important. They'll be 30-point underdogs when they do shoot court.
Well, and like what made value and starts in Mississippi is not the same as Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's not the same as Austin, Texas, or Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
It's just a little wrong. We have a big company.
Yeah, and that's one of the things the board of trustees people were bringing up is like, are we going to be punished because we're not in LA or whatever? And Donati was like maybe, but he's like, there's also going to be more opportunities. You know, hey, when I was at TCU, like the Dallas Metroplex, we were what, 5th, 6th, 7th on the pecking order. It's like there wasn't, a ton of companies being like, yeah, we got to go sign the TCU student athletes. But in Columbia, you have those unique opportunities. But like you're saying, yeah, what fair market value in LA and fair market value in Columbia is far different.
Jordan K is with us. We're at ProSwing on Forest Drive talking some Gamecock storylines here as no basketball till Saturday, no women's basketball tonight. We'll things that Jordan's been working on and looking at as we do it on a Thursday. We're live at ProSwing. Come say hey, Forest Drive. You're listening
to the Postgame show.
Jay, can you take that tripod and move it to the left?
to my left or your left?
This?
Our left. Oh, there we go. Oh, this way.
Other.
This way. Yeah, let's see. Back a little bit more. There we go. I don't know why I'm moving my computer. Back a little bit more. It ain't working like that anymore. So
Turn the volume down on the radio, then back up.
You know what? Actually, what we can do, move it to the center, and then also have Jordan come join us over here. Then we all get really cozy.
Is it crooked?
It does look like it might be a little crooked. But it doesn't appear crooked. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. Using that leveler. Perfect. Look at this. Yeah. False. Truly. There we go. My dumb ass over here still adjusting.
I know, dude. I see you moving your computer. I'm like, what are you doing?
I'm like, nope. It's because we would do it from there so much. The man. The man. Fixed it. This is a lot better.
You guys need any cookies?
I'm good.
After this segment. Oh, man.
They're all cranberry macadamia nut or something.
Ooh, I'll pass.
White chocolate.
Just eat a bunch of rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of bread. They're going to replenish before the 5 o'clock.
Is there, another batch of people coming in for?
Yeah, so we allow 3 hours per tee time.
Okay.
Play 9 holes, which is you should be able to do it.
I was going to say, yeah.
And so everyone didn't have that, so now we have an hour and a half of
Nice. Okay.
playing around.
Yeah. That's the best part of the entire game.
The
is the
idea was
fucking
to not
around.
have people rush through it who haven't been in here before.
Uh-huh.
So we're learning.
I like that. No, I think
Does
that's
everybody
good.
get
3 hours.
this serious question? Does everybody you build in some range time as well?
Warm up time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I like that. Yeah.
What's
I
the
think
tournament?
What's the tournament?
Yeah.
So it's 2-man captain's choice. We had 40 spots. We had 34 teams sign up.
Okay.
It's $1,000. $150 to enter $1,000 first place.
Oh wow,
$750.
that's awesome.
So still have a few times available tomorrow and Saturday.
I just said, yeah. What are the slots that are open?
I mean, we can honestly make anything work because
of time. So if you're interested in that, and this place is, I'm telling you, this place is so, it's fun. I have I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Makes every time I'm in here, it's one of those things like I'm like, I'd rather be doing that. I love my job, but I'd rather be doing that than this. And you have to not get distracted or be like, if I just go maybe like start like 1, 2 holes, 3, 5. Anyway.
They let us play with it afterward though.
Yeah.
I got a couple swings in last time.
Yeah, you did all right, man. Did all right.
Yeah, that was bad.
Jordan, we've talked a lot, Elijah and I have, and many fans, about this basketball season, and I don't want to call it lost, but with 10 games left and you haven't won a game yet, and thinking that suddenly you're going to win 10 of them and turn everything around is not at all realistic, obviously. But are you like us and maybe thinking a lot of this is something that's ultimately fixable through recruiting as much as anything else?
Maybe. I guess the thing is, because the way the season's gone, it's like you kind of forget. It's like, I don't think 3 months ago or 4 months ago, like people were worried about recruiting and or NIL. I mean, they got Cam Scott from basically who was going to Texas. They snatched him. They grabbed Nick Pringle, who was basically could have gone to almost any SEC team he wanted. They grabbed Jordan Butler, a big guy from Missouri. It's like they brought back Colin Murray-Boyd. It's like, I think we thought they were in a good spot from an NIL perspective, from a recruiting perspective. And then it's like the way the season's gone, I think everyone's kind of had a revisionist history. Like, well, not enough funding, not enough this and that. And they definitely are probably we're doing more with less in terms of all that. But I think a couple months ago, we thought they were going to be fine.
Well, when they beat Clemson, despite losing to Xavier in Indiana, when they beat Clemson, you think, okay, things are looking up. I don't think it's a funding issue or anything like that. I just, I've said it a bunch. I look at last year's guard tandem.
Yeah.
And I say, in my opinion, that was the best guard tandem at this school since Melvin Watson and BJ Mackey led South Carolina
30 years ago?
Nearly to the SEC championship. And those two guys were first team all conference, along with Larry Davis that season that they won 2 seed nationally. They were fantastic. And Carolina's had good guard play since at times, but even the Final Four team did not have that level of guard play. Now, they had the player of the year in the conference.
Sure.
And they had 4 dudes that at least spent, more than a cup of coffee's worth of time in the NBA.
They played.
But to me, that's just, and once you get into play in the league, that to me, that's just been, and let's face it, Jamari was hurt for several of those games. So you didn't even have your starting guard. So to me, that's been the single biggest thing.
And the thing is too, like they've lost so many close games too. Like, I don't think this is a bad basketball team compared to your normal Division I team. It's just the fact that you are an average team that plays in a non-average conference where every team you play on a consistent basis is a top 15 team. Like really, really bad teams don't consistently take some good teams to the wire, right?
Yeah.
Like Auburn, best team in the country. Mississippi State, genuinely a top 15 team in the country. Took them to overtime. Florida, I think, is a top 5 team in all of college basketball. And you played some of them close, but you're missing a lot of small things that lead into bigger problems. And that's where you've had like the Oklahoma loss, the Vanderbilt loss. Those happen because you didn't do the small things. You turned the ball over a lot, right? But the biggest thing too, like if you compare this year's team and in Lamont's year 1 team, like on paper, look at their KenPom pages, like look at the metrics. Even though that team won 4 games in the league that year, the bottom of the league in the SEC was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And this year, the league is just so different to the point where this year's team is significantly better than the one 2 years ago, but the record's a lot worse. And I think that's just a testament to every game you're playing is the best in the country.
Yeah.
You're just not close to that yet.
Yeah. The offense, I think we kind of didn't realize how much ran through like Talon Cooper last year, especially with his defense and how long he was, the ability to switch. I mean, that dude was tenacious and was able to take the ball up the court, or Michi Johnson could. I mean, you're right, Jay. Like, they were so good in the backcourt last year, and that's fallen off a little bit because I think they were expecting Jamari Thomas to not be hurt. And I think we're expecting a lot more from Cam Scott than they've gotten. And all of a sudden it leaves you with this crazy SEC schedule, and you can't really rely on 2 of the top dudes you thought you had.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And Elijah and I, and it was interesting that Lamont kind of alluded to it in postgame the other night. I asked Elijah, might this team need to explore tweaking its style of play.
Yeah.
And I love what Lamont does overall. It works. We know that. And I think it was encouraging to hear Jeremiah the other day say that very thing to like, listen, Lamont can coach. This isn't about Lamont.
Which is so refreshing because that dude, I mean, just going to his post-game presser, like Lamont's coaching ability is not the problem.
No, not at all. Not at all. And so ultimately I think and even Lamont alluded to it the other night, like some of this, we need to keep developing, and some of this we'll go see what we can get, talent-wise.
Yeah.
So Gamecocks have A&M coming in on Sunday. What are you hearing? We asked David Cloninger this. You mentioned a board meeting you attended not too long ago. Where do you think things stand at Williams-Brice in terms of figuring out what some of the luxury seating enhancements are going to start to look like, and a timeline there? What more do we know?
I think Jeremiah said during the board meeting, and I don't know if he kind of misspoke and have to get more information on it, that they had picked an architect. I know they went to executive session, which basically means no cameras, no one. It's just the board and Jeremiah and a couple other people kind of went behind the scenes for a couple hours and we're talking about architects. So they had gotten different plans, and then I think they've picked a person. And I just saw something went through with some bond thing or something at the the state level. So they're putting it through right now. But I think they're a couple months away from being able to announce the actual plans and stuff. And then the timeline I think is still on track.
I'm still curious as to, and we talked about it yesterday, what that is going to look like. Is this going to be, and he mentioned to Elijah and me, he was careful, we have room without having to mess a lot of stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is going to lower capacity, but to what degree relative to just something where they say, you know what, let's just build something new. Not a brand new football stadium, but a big addition.
From what I understand, I think the first phase is going to be the what's that press box side? Is that west? The west side, because what costs a lot when you're doing construction is high up concrete, trying to install. Well, all that concrete's still good. So all you got to do, it sounds easy. I'm making it sound.
Right.
Gut all the seats, and then basically you have at least the foundation.
Yeah.
And then it's a little easier to go in and put the suites without, building new concrete. So I think that's the first phase, and you can add a lot of suites along there.
Yeah, and that'll be it's long overdue, certainly. We'll wrap it up with a few things from Jordan on what else is going on around Gamecock land. We are live at ProSwing on Forest Drive. Come say hey. It's the postgame show.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I love that neighborhood.
11. Turn that up there. Hi, welcome back in. I had my microphone turned down. 11 minutes in front of 4 o'clock on this Thursday. Jay, Elijah, the postgame show rolling along at ProSwing on Forest Drive. Ed Bird at Master Control. Jordan K hanging out with us here for a few more minutes. Of course, on the beat for the state newspaper. All right, so how is Jordan K looking at some of these football offseason predictions and prognostications when it comes to Carolina football?
I don't know. Shane gets mad at me for putting that they were going to go 10-2. I asked him, I was like, what do you want like next time? 5-7, 6-6? I don't know. He gets mad at me about it. So I'm like,
lose.
He's brought it up like 5 times or at least a couple. I'm like, okay, you got mad when people were projecting you to win whatever. I don't even know what he was pulling some numbers where I'm like, who projected that? Like he said one where it was like, I saw somewhere we were going to project it to win one SEC game. And I'm like, who? Like, I'm sure it's out there, but, and then, you project him to win 10 games. It's like, well, some people are doing this. I'm like, oh my God. I try not to pay attention to it too much.
Hey, you can find anything because if Kirby Smart can tell his guys that somebody picked them to go 7-5 before the second championship, which I promise you, no one with a real pulse, actually had. You can find any projection to fit an error.
Some Yahoo, Auburn, or Georgia Tech fan, I assure you.
Sure, yeah.
They're going. This guy in his mom's basement said you're going to go 7-5. What are you guys going to go do about that?
No, but I mean, it feels like it could be so wide ranging, which is the same thing as last year. Because you're bringing back Lenoris.
Right.
That almost gives you 6 wins right there. But how is this defense going to respond? And because they didn't bring in like these Caleb Downs type transfers, like it's so hard to project. Who would have thought Kyle Kennard was going to be the best defensive player in the country? Who thought Demetrius Knight was going to be that good? And there's so many of these guys you're relying on that we just don't know yet. I don't know. And so the projections are going to be very wide ranging.
Well, it was funny when we talked to you like 2 weeks ago. I think you had the best line of it all. It's like these way too earlys are very simple. How'd you do last year, and do you return your quarterback?
That's all it is.
The only things they ask.
Yeah, that's why South Carolina will be top 15 every poll you'll see.
Well, I mean, and now I've seen yet another one that has them in the top 10. I think there's now 3 that have them in the top 10.
JD Piquel had them like 7.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't.
That's just
without knowing what the pieces are that you bring in on defense. Like I'm the same way. Like I think the offense will be good. I think we can definitively say going into 2025, this team will score the football.
Yeah,
it will score points. The scoreboard operator will have no issues being having stretches of boredom on Saturdays. But can you keep the other team off the scoreboard? You lost so much on defense. I don't think you're going to be able to replicate what you did last year to a T. But how much of a percentage can you get to being there? And the closer that is to 100, the better you're going to be. And if that number is 85%, you can go 9-3 again.
Yeah.
Man, you could go 10-2. But if that number is more like 35-40%, you're going to lose some one-score games, and you can be 7-5.
Yeah.
So I agree. Like that's where the variety of outcomes that are possible kind of lies.
And this is where I think sometimes college football fans think their program is just on a linear trajectory. Hey, you won 9 games. That means the next year you're going to win 10 or 11. Right. And it's like, well, look at Missouri last year. It's like, hey, they won 11 games. Everyone thinks they're going to make the playoff. And it's like they won 9 this next year. And all of a sudden it's a down season. Right. It's very hard to sustain these things. And there's so many games that come down to, Lenoris Sellers hitting Rocket Sanders against Missouri, or these Demetrius Knight intercepting Cade Klubnik, like very small things. Like a lot of luck has to break your way to win 10 games.
How about a couple of fumbles that bounce right back up into people's arms?
Yeah.
Great point.
Or an interception on the last drive of the Old Dominion game that kept you from losing to Old Dominion in the opener. We forget how close that game was in the fourth quarter. I mean, that could have gone the wrong way.
Yeah, I know Lenoris lost a couple of fumbles at Bama as well, but I mean, it's just there's so many little factors, and this schedule, there's no favors.
I don't know. I think it actually is one of the they do have. I feel like they do have some favors. Like getting not having Florida, not having Georgia, not having Tennessee, not having Texas. It's actually I feel like one of the more manageable schedules in the SEC.
Going to LSU going to be difficult.
Going to Ole Miss,
you go back to Ole Miss. You go back to A&M.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
let's think too. What's Ole Miss? They lost a ton too, and what's A&M going to be?
Yeah.
Like a couple of them are real
portal recruiting
marks.
was fantastic once again, as you would expect. Ole Miss he's become that guy. And listen, I wish they did play the ones you just mentioned.
Yeah,
I've made no
should.
secret of that they should play.
Should.
You know, they should not have taken,
Every
especially Georgia.
Yeah.
You just can't take Georgia from South Carolina, but they did. So whatever. But and it's really kind of a backloaded schedule again, too,
Yeah.
which is a concern. You better. What were we saying not too long ago? You better be like 5-0.
Yeah,
through
or
your
4
first
and
ones,
1.
you know.
If you want.
Yeah, I
anything
mean,
like
you
that.
look at the schedule, and if they're not 5-0, I mean, people are going to be a little disappointed.
Yeah, because it's just because it's tough. I mean, after that, and I mean, you lost to Alabama, and they do come here, and Oklahoma comes here, but I anticipate that Oklahoma gets better. That would be prevailing thought.
If they get any worse, they'll be looking for a new head coach.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming by, dude.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, good stuff. Jordan K. catches work all the time on at state.com, and we'll have him back here very, very soon. We'll get into this ACC ESPN story and why we knew that was coming, right? And Brad Muller will join us in a bit. We're live at ProSwing, day one of the inaugural golf tournament out here at ProSwing.
I'm sure y'all have heard. Pretty big game coming up. Big football game coming up very soon. And there's a way that you can enjoy it unlike ever before. My friends over at Prize Picks. Because Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. And they're here to hook you up for the big game. They have a nice free square for you. Patrick Mahomes, passing yards, 0.5 yards. I am 99.99999% confident that he reaches that benchmark. So that's a square for you. All you got to do is pick another player from the other team and their stat projection, and there you go. You can win up to 2 times your money right there, or add more players and possibly win up to 100 times your cash. Prize Picks is that simple. Just download the app today. Use promo code 1075GAME, and you can also get $50 when you place your first $5 lineup. Again, that promo code is 1075GAME, and for the big game, they're doing a special 0.5 pass yards for Patrick Mahomes. Prize Picks, run your game.
All right, welcome back in. Second hour of the post-game show coming at you from ProSwing on Forest Drive in Forest Acres. We are right across from Lowe's Foods next to Bonefish. Come say, hey, we're here until 6. We'll be here again tomorrow as well.
We will.
All of us.
Back to back.
Even Gunner.
Like I'm on the cover of Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. People think I'm picking on Gunner, but I'm not. I'm just making sure that he does his job properly.
Kind of like picking on him. Are you picking on him, or is this accountability?
Yeah. I mean,
I wonder what he would describe it as.
He's not listening. He's asleep.
His sleep schedule is a little different than ours.
Yeah, he's not. He's not listening. No, kid, because we care. We love Bill Gunner. A lot of good stuff out here at ProSwing. Thanks again to Jordan Kay for hanging out with us, talking a few Gamecock storylines. Again, no women's basketball game today, but Brad Muller will join us coming up in about a half hour. We'll talk to Brad about a few things going on around the team after running that gauntlet of 5 straight ranked opponents. And, if Brad is going to insert Joyce Edwards into the starting lineup.
I don't know. She's doing pretty good where she's at.
I know, man.
How many teams have you ever seen, Jay Phillips? I'm asking you to just dig into the memory bank. And if anybody else that's listening can think of a team that fits this mold, please let us know. Where the top 2 team in the country, that's a defending national champion, has a leading scorer that is a true freshman that doesn't start.
It goes off the bench.
I can't say I've ever seen that at any level of basketball, men or women.
I can't think of it. I can't think of anything. Because, I mean, that person would start.
And, like, maybe – well, no, because, I was thinking, UConn men a couple years ago, Donovan Clingan, but Clingan came off the bench, wasn't leading scorer. And that was before they were even defending champions. The first time.
And I don't think Asia in her freshman year, Asia wasn't the leading scorer. She played quite well off the bench as a freshman, but she didn't.
But maybe not the leading scorer.
The leading scorer. Yeah,
it's pretty remarkable, man. If you ever want to know what this program is in a nutshell, it's just that. It's that the year after going undefeated and winning a national championship and bringing all but one player back, that your leading scorer the next season is a freshman that comes off the bench. Yeah. It's insane.
The one that filled the hole of the roster.
Of the player that you lost. Yeah, that becomes the leading scorer.
Right. That's pretty crazy.
That's there is no rebuild. There is just reloading.
A couple of fueled the speculation and discussion around why Clemson and Florida State have sued the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now, there's a whole bunch of things that have happened here. And forgive me, I'm not going to run through a lot of this A through Z in order, so I may jump around as we discuss this, and then it'll all come together like a big jigsaw puzzle. But to reset some of it, again, Clemson and Florida State last year sued the league on a number of things, including the belief that the exit fee to leave the Atlantic Coast Conference was exorbitant, was too punitive. The ACC countersued, and their suit basically said, y'all signed it. Here's the proof that you signed it. And then it got different when Florida State on its own took even further steps to basically say, look, I'm just now going to say it this way. We don't want to be here anymore. And we want our way. And then they got their attorney general involved, and then there were some trade secrets that were exposed, and Disney didn't like that. It got ugly.
Some unnecessary.
Yeah. And look, this is me talking now. I've described it this way. Florida State acted like a petulant 4-year-old child in a toy store that wasn't getting what they wanted and was kicking and screaming until they got the toy. Clemson, at least, and I mean this sincerely, Clemson at least might have been, in the same toy store, but was like, oh, hey, Mom, can I have that toy? Well, no, not right now, but we'll discuss it. Okay. They wanted the toy real bad. They didn't like what they didn't have, but they went about it in a much different way. So I've credited Clemson for that as a university on many occasions,
but still sued their mother for not.
But they did still get really mad at their mother. Yes. But at least they acted differently. They didn't completely pitch a fit like Florida State. So if that makes a difference,
they both sued their mothers. One just yelled.
So this TV deal is relative to what the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference have, considerably less per school. And there have been negotiations ongoing as both schools and the conference have tried over the last several months to come to some form of agreement. All right. So why are we here today? Well, here's why. Because there is a basic agreement that is now in place, I am told. Beyond that, let me put this the right way. Clemson and Florida State, we already have been saying a bunch. Like, you can't just up and go to wherever you want to go. Again, you got to pay. You've signed your rights over to the conference. You've signed a long-term deal. You've agreed to it. It's in writing. It's there, and most people have agreed to that. The fact is, they had nowhere to go. All right, and that was reiterated to me again today by someone I spoke with who is close to this. For the sake of the discussion, not to try to pat myself on the back or anything like that, but to let y'all know, Elijah knows who I have spoken with and will vouch for the validity of the source.
A real source.
Our program director, Terry Ford, knows who I have spoken with and knows that this is I'm not just sitting here making it up. I don't want Clemson fans going, well, you just don't like Clemson. And you're going to, I got nothing against Clemson at all. I have spoken to someone who knows what's up. And they didn't have anywhere to go. They didn't have anywhere to go, period. So when that became known, then the two schools tried to negotiate a new opportunity, or at least get some things done. And you might have seen some articles today that have come around with that. Now, one thing that I was told is probably not going to happen is what was deemed a brand bonus or a brand fund. Basically, what's going to happen is the ACC is going to take its pool of money, and whatever currently the floor is for what schools get, that number is likely to change and go down. Not significantly, but down. And then the money that they siphon off, if you will be put into a separate fund. And that money will then be redistributed to schools. Everybody's going to get something from that secondary fund. But it will be based not on your brand, if you will, but it'll more than likely be ratings-based performance. So in other words, how many people are watching you? Potentially, that's going to be the bulk of it, right? It's just how many people are watching. That's been one of the things that Florida State has said. Now, look, Florida State came out with some study.
I'm going to use air quotes. Study.
We still don't know how they came up with the information, but they tried to say like how popular they were relative to a whole bunch of other schools.
I will say that is pretty incredible lengths to go to for self-flattery.
Well,
that is I'm one to self-flatter here, but I don't think I'm ever going to create statistics about myself.
Well, coming back around to it, I was joking with you earlier, and the person I was speaking with about a lot of this today is like, if you're a little kid again, going back to suing your mom or whatever, like, I'm the best kid in the world. Oh yeah. How do you know? Because my mom told me I was the best kid in the world. And I mean, there it is.
Those are the numbers.
Yeah. So
and now they're telling you not to argue with those numbers.
But Florida State, has, I think they've overinflated their sense of self-worth. Again, I do not believe that Clemson has in any way taken that same tact. So good for Clemson in that respect. But it'll be based on how you're doing on television, and these things still have to be fully negotiated through the conference. But I am told, and by the way, here's something that I found out today as well, very quietly yesterday, but very publicly, because it's court, so it's got to be public. In Pickens County, the conference and Clemson asked for an extension on their negotiations. And I believe it's a 90-day extension. It should take them into the middle of spring. And what I was told is that by then, they expect to have this done. What that means for Florida State and their suit down in Leon County, Florida, I couldn't tell you. I don't know about that one. But now let me talk from everything I gathered today. All right. So this does not come from someone else. This comes from me and piecing these things together. I think Florida State is going to be presented with something that says everybody else likes this. And then let's see what Florida State does. That's what I think is going to happen. Again, I was not told that, so I'm not reporting that. But that, if I read between the lines, that's what that sounded like to me. Is that this is going to be a kind of take it or leave it kind of thing, and if you leave it, you got nothing.
Yeah,
because they're not going anywhere. There's nowhere to go now, and that was something that was reiterated to me.
Yeah,
there's nowhere to go. So all of the people out there, oh well, they'll just go to the SEC. They'll just go to the Big Ten. All they're no, they won't.
And they never had the option.
They haven't, y'all. I mean,
that's never been realistic.
It hasn't. I mean, it sounds great in theory, but in practice, it wasn't going to happen. And that's why we are where we are today. There has been now a reckoning. Oh, we don't have anywhere to go. We need to stay here. We need to make this work because the other alternatives are not there for us. We will be required to pay the $140 million exit fee. We will have to turn our rights over to the conference, even if we left, and try to negotiate something else. There's been a reckoning. Mm-hmm. That's what's happened in the last few months while this has kind of gone quiet relative to, again, Florida State kicking and screaming. And we want what we want right now. We're Florida State. Don't you understand that? We're as popular as the Pittsburgh Steelers. No, you're not. And really, again, the way I'm going to say it this way. Again, this is me talking. The way they showed their ass, who wants to work with that?
No. As if it wasn't going to be plausible given the nature of the business of college athletics anyway.
Right.
They wouldn't fit in any other conference, with the exception of maybe the Big 12. The Big 12 just wanted to do it because that'd be a very Brett Yormark thing to do. But what Florida State is the bank robber that goes into the bank being the ACC, is holding everybody hostage and yelling, "I have a gun. Don't move. I have a gun." And then all they have behind their trench coat is a super soaker. Right. And now
finger gun in their hoodie pocket.
And that's all they got, or the little Papa Shot, little court gun, right? And they're like, all right, I'm holding the place hostage. And now they have everybody has the agreement to leave, or, in this instance has the agreement to renew or restructure how money is divvied up in the ACC. And now it's time for them to follow, to follow through with your threat. And now it's just a little pop gun.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what Florida State is, because you have nothing. So this is an all-time bluff.
So I'll come back around, but again, I'll get you a few other things that I learned today. But we are where we are today because the two litigants against the conference have basically, again, I don't know as much about what this might mean. Florida State may still try to kick and scream one more time.
Well, they could. I mean, that's kind of been their thing.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, 803-404-6100. If you want to chime in on this particular conversation, we'll do that for you. Brad Muller joining us, talking a little women's hoops in just a bit. We are live at ProSwing on Forest Drive. You are listening to the Postgame Show. New set of wheels in your future. You might need to get in touch with our good friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union and let them handle the financing, because you can save a lot of money, especially in today's up and down rate environment. You see, at Palmetto Citizens, they're not for profit, so they immediately can offer lower rates and fewer fees when you're borrowing money, because they return their earnings to members in the form of lower rates and fewer fees. See how that works? Makes it really nice. They can give you some great rates on new to 21 models. They've got great rates on older models. Maybe you've got a young driver and you'd like them to get started in something that's a little more affordable, or whatever else you're thinking of, they can handle that for you too. They've got some great insurance options as well that dealerships and others simply can't beat. So what do? You go around, you shop, you find that next vehicle. Then you call the folks at Palmetto Citizens. You log on to palmettocitizens.org or any of their 14 convenient Midlands locations. Great people. My wife and I are members. We love them. Think you will too. Palmetto Citizens. Check them out. And yeah, I'll take it. Okay. Welcome back in. 19 minutes after 4 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. We are broadcasting live from ProSwing on Forest Drive. Come say hey. Ed Bird at Master Control. The inaugural golf tournament here at ProSwing going on. There's still, again, 6 slots left for tomorrow or Saturday. How this tournament works. It's a $150 entry for a 2-person team. You play 9 holes. They'll give you time to get all nice and limbered up. They record your score, and once this thing is done on Saturday night, then they'll tally them all up. And if you and your partner win, you get $1,000.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just think, like 20 years ago, that $1,000 could have earned you 1,000 McChickens.
That's true. Yeah, today
that's a lot of McChickens.
Today, not quite as many.
That's a McChicken a day for like 2.5 years.
I hope you have good insurance after that as well.
Just a McChicken a day. Don't supersize it.
Okay.
I watched that movie before.
I like the. That's not the same as like the Southern style. They're like Chick-fil-A knockoff, is it? The McChicken.
McChicken. It is just the most basic chicken sandwich McDonald's has.
Okay,
But it's efficient. It works.
sure. Anyway, second place gets $750. Third place gets $500. They are feeding you some food from Bonefish, which is right next door.
Yeah.
Like literally right next door.
Solid establishment
Yeah.
itself.
Right next door. In fact, I'm told that they're getting ready to bring some more Bonefish over in just a minute. So I'm just gonna. I'll get you to box out some of the patrons here, and we'll grab first dibs.
That's right.
Sound good?
Hey, I'll do the boxing out if you grab the food.
Coming back around to the headline that we are discussing again, Disney and ESPN have agreed with the ACC to extend or to pick up the option on their deal, not extend it, just pick up the option, which will continue to have the ACC be broadcast by ESPN and have ESPN continue, doing things on the ACC network through 2036. And that the reason we are here today with this is because by and large, there is an agreement in principle throughout the conference. That's me kind of paraphrasing it. Again, nothing is written yet, and there's still some hurdles to jump over, but these are pretty easy hurdles from what I understand at this point forward. And yesterday, this is not in the story, but I learned this today in speaking with some folks around this particular topic, that an extension was requested in Pickens County. There's a public filing on this, so this is not anything that anybody can't go find out. That should give, at least from the Clemson lawsuit perspective, give the parties time to, dot the I's and cross the T's on everything else that's going on. Again, what this expressly means for Florida State, I do not know. I will not pretend to know, but I will, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, based on what I learned, and this is me talking. I did not get this from anybody else, but it sounds a lot like it's going to basically be Florida State. This is what's happening.
It sounds like it's a take it or leave.
Yeah, this is what's happening. And again, if they leave it, there's nowhere to go.
I mean, you can maybe try to get into the Big 12, but even then, that makes the Big 12 no more money because they're already.
Well, you're still going to have to pay the exit fee, and you're still going to have, and you've still given the ACC your rights. You're not getting out of that.
Yeah.
Without, again, you're just that's what it sounds like. You're not, and I think that's why we're here today.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think if there were still a strong legal ability to challenge this, you would.
Oh yeah, and if you had any chance of doing it,
yeah, and then Disney would have. I mean, Disney's not going to do this. And I'm going to say, as many of you that have heard me talk about this story, I say Disney, not ESPN, because this is bigger than that.
Yes.
ESPN is one arm of Disney. Disney's not going to say yes and go another 11 years if at any point in the not too distant future, Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina could go, hey, by the way, later. You're not doing that.
No.
You're not doing that. And they're not going to negotiate against themselves. Again, Elijah and I saw some tweet from some dude that
a doozy.
Yeah, that was like, hey, folks, telling you, North Carolina's going to the SEC because ESPN doesn't want to lose them. Like, no, that's not what this is. And look, is North Carolina? I will still contend that North Carolina is pound for pound the biggest available prize, if for lack of a better way to say it, in the ACC. Because again, if it were the SEC or the Big Ten, it offers you a brand new market. It is an instantly recognizable brand. They are good at what they do. I know they're having some hiccups right now, but I'm not going to be surprised when North Carolina gets it back on track in basketball and football. And what football back on track looks like, I don't know. But
we've been waiting for that one.
Yeah, 8 or 9 wins. I mean, they're not going to win a national title under Bill Belichick or anybody else. But I mean, 8 or 9 wins, maybe 10. I mean, they've had
good for them.
Had some pretty good players, man. So there's that. But this is happening now. Again, more than anything else, this is happening from a business perspective because all parties understand this is where we are, and that there are no other options from a conference perspective. You're not getting out of that grant. That thing is what people think. You can keep suing, and so that's where it is. And I think that's good. And again, I mentioned this earlier. There will be sort of a secondary pool of money. They'll kind of siphon off the top, redistribute, based on ratings, performance, and things like that. And there may be some success initiatives in there as well. But you already get to keep some of your success initiatives when you're, for basketball purposes. Duke's going to still, and I imagine that'll be something that Duke says, like, hey, we're not going to get a lot of football money ratings wise, but chances are pretty good we'll be in the Final Four. We want to make sure we get some of that. And I think those things, and that'll all be there
this year.
For those folks. But that's why this has happened now, because again, they've all talked and they're ready to go. And Disney is like, cool, good. All right, let's do it.
And hopefully, I think in terms of a ripple effect, I think this should slow down any talks of further conference expansion. Because what do you have the same feel that I do, that at this point, there's nowhere for anybody else to go? Every league's at capacity.
Already past
it.
Yeah.
And if anything, then it needs
oversold.
But you can't do that. Yeah. Right. There's just no more vacancy. I feel like we've probably gotten to the end of the road as it pertains to conference expansion.
So.
Like this, the conference expansion show has now officially been canceled. It jumped the shark whenever the Big Ten did the super expansion, the Big 12 super expanded, and the ACC grabbed Cal and Stanford and SMU. That's when this whole TV series jumped the shark, right? I mean, I don't know if you ever watched the Jump the Shark episode
of Happy Days.
Of Happy Days.
Oh,
I have not. I've only heard of it, but this is how I would equate the TV series conference expansion to be. I think that's when it jumped the shark. I think we have now canceled the show.
Yeah, I certainly hope so, and I agree with you. I think you have. And look, this should
which thank God.
Yes.
Thank God.
I think
hopefully this kills that.
For schools like Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Miami, who I think most agree are probably the four biggest brands in the league. I mean, Duke is not far behind, but doesn't have a big football brand, which drives so much of this. If everything kind of goes the way they hope, those schools, I mean, then this should get them pretty close to SEC annual payout. Probably not going to equal or top it, but should get them significantly closer than if the ACC were to remain as is, even with this deal extending, and pay out an equal share per school.
Which is what their goal should be. Like, you're not going to surpass the SEC. It's not realistic.
Right.
Or the Big Ten. That's not realistic, right? The goal is to get as close as you can. Right. And if you can get something that's close or comparable, then you should absolutely take it, right? This is when, Kenny Rogers would appreciate this. This is when you fold them. Yes. You walk away.
And what does this mean, for Wake, for Boston College, even for a Syracuse, a Pittsburgh? I don't know.
Wouldn't it insinuate some type of guaranteed survival?
Yeah.
Because if the ACC were to have, let's say the grant of rights was not very strong and you could just disperse, right? Like what Florida State and Clemson wanted to do.
Right.
Because if they did that, that would leave all of them out to dry. But now that they're all
you're good
all together, now that we're all going home together, I think that has just guaranteed their survival at the Power 4 level.
Brad Muller on the other side of the break, talking a little Carolina women's hoops. Come say hey to us. We're live at ProSwing on Forest Drive. It's the post-game show.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some issues on the roadways this afternoon. But we're going to start off with some good news, and that's that an accident has been cleared on I-20 westbound at Farrow Road near exit 72. We do have some active accidents, though, still causing traffic backup, starting with one on Spear Creek Church Road at US 1 and 2 Notch, Rabin Road at US 1 and 2 Notch, Pond Branch Road near 2 Notch. A lot of accidents on 2 Notch. Knox Abbott Drive near State Street, I-77 northbound at, you guessed it, 2 Notch Road near exit 17. I-26 westbound after Sunset Boulevard near exit 110. Enterprise Parkway at Platte Springs Road, and on Clemson Road at Sparkleberry Lane.
Time to talk a little Carolina basketball with our good friend Brad Muller, the voice of Carolina women's hoops. He has been busy with them on a 5-game ranked team gauntlet run.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, that was very successful, which is good. How you doing?
I'm great.
And Brad came to see us.
He did.
In person, which is nice. And I told Brad I'm going to, fall on my own sword here. I already did it off air. Brad also zinged me, which was good. I was like, hey, you want to laugh? And he goes, what, you going to hit some golf balls? Which was fun. And,
yeah, you got zunged.
They did. A couple of years ago, Brad and I share an affinity for spy novels. And I was just talking one day, I think on air, about one of the novels I was reading from this particular author. And he goes, hey, have you read his earliest works? And I was like, no, I have not. And so Brad brought me 3 of them in paperback form.
Classic.
Classic. Mrs. Phillips and I the other day were just clearing out. We have tons of books. We love to read. We had tons of books. She's like, we got to give some of these away. And so we did. And I didn't want to, I wasn't going to give these away because I was like, hey, all the Daniel Silva, that's the author. I was like, we need to put all the Silvas in one spot when we rearranged. We weren't giving any of them away. And I was like, oh man, those are Brad's. So I called Brad and I was like, hey, if you come out, I'll bring them to you. And guess what's still sitting at my house?
Sorry, I'm not going to read them again. So it's okay.
I'll take
a picture. I've read them once.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'll move those on. But anyway, always appreciate Brad's time. This has been a heck of a run, but I want to start in all seriousness. Elijah and I have already talked about her today a little bit and a lot yesterday too. Joyce Edwards.
Yeah.
You're getting ready to run out of adjectives already, and she's halfway through her freshman season.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch her progress because, early on in the exhibition games before the season started, you saw the athleticism, said, all right, this kid's going to play, as a freshman. And then first couple of games against good competition, you could tell the game was moving fast, and she wasn't there. You could still see the athleticism. And then all of a sudden in SEC play, it's like everything slowed down for her, which is weird. You get to the hardest part of your schedule, or one of the hardest parts of your schedule, and things are slowing down for her. You just hope she doesn't hit that freshman wall, which they all do at some point because it's a longer season. But the growth has been tremendous because, early on her first few games, she was struggling just with the easy stuff, the stuff around the rim, probably shooting under 40% the first 3-4 games, something like that, and now she's one of the more reliable players in the paint. She plays smart. It's not turning the ball over, takes good shots, makes good shots, gets rebounds, leads the team in scoring, and her averages have gone up in SEC play, which is pretty amazing. And she's leading the Gamecocks in scoring coming off the bench, and her overall numbers have gone up in SEC play, which is tremendous.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I've seen a freshman come into this level of college basketball with that polished of footwork.
Yeah.
It's one of those things too. Against LSU, there was nothing else you could do. Her footwork down low, you really could have just recorded that game and made that teach tape for anybody wanting to be a post player at the collegiate level, and how she seals people off with her off foot, how she basically gets in scoring position before she even touches the ball.
We've been fortunate here since Coach Stelly's been here that we've had a good number of All-Americans in the post, especially in the last 10 years. Elena Coates, Asia Wilson, Aaliyah Boston, Camila Cardoso. And, there's been other good ones that weren't really good until their junior or senior year. Some of the other ones that have come along during Dawn's time. But the great ones, like Asia, Aaliyah, they were really good when they first got here. And Asia came off the bench as a freshman, and she was still pretty darn good. But just what you said, though, the footwork that she has now, not putting her in a comparison yet with Asia or Leah because, it's still her freshman year, but it just shows the potential because sometimes that's stuff that takes a couple of years and she's already, ahead of that curve. Now it's like, okay, where else can we clean things up, for year two, next year, because she's already way ahead of a lot of other freshmen.
Is it crazy for me to say I've enjoyed the relative tightness of a couple of these games, LSU, Tennessee? I mean, you're going to get pushed at some point, and they're still winning, but I want that to tell me as much about the opponent as it does South Carolina.
Well, exactly. And you ultimately, because of where South Carolina is and where they've been, you want to be prepared for the NCAA tournament. I joked back in November and December, it felt like we already played an NCAA tournament because of all the ranked teams they play. They played 5 or 6, ranked teams in November, December, which most teams don't do all year. And then you have 5 in a row against ranked teams, and you win all of them, all but one by double digits, although, the LSU game was still tight. I think it says a lot about this team in terms of, one, their ability, even without one of their best players now since Ashlyn Watkins went down, about a month ago, but that their ability to prepare, their ability to put solid performances back to back, which of course you need to do in the postseason against good teams, and the ability to adjust to a lot of different playing styles to find a way to win when you don't have whatever that it is that day. Like there's some days where, they weren't shooting well. Okay. They had to win it with defense. There's some days where the other team was shooting it pretty well to begin with. Like the LSU game. I thought, that game was going to get, both teams were going to go over 100 points the way it started in the first quarter.
Yeah.
They were
blistering.
They were both 24, 23 or something.
Yeah, they were both shooting 50% or higher and thinking, man, this is going to be nuts. And then after that, no.
It became a hammer fight.
Yeah, exactly. So it's neat to see them, one, to adjust to a lot of different styles of play and some great players, like what we saw with Tennessee. Tennessee plays a very unique style. And to be able to overcome that and to find a way to win, whether it's, all right, we're going to outshoot you, or we're going to beat you inside, or our perimeter players are going to knock down shots, or what really has to be the mainstay is you pack your defense. And that's something, Dawn always talks about, defense. When the shots don't fall, you can always rely on your defense if you're good at it, if the players are committed. And they have been committed and have become more committed as the season has come along. I think they've defended a lot better as the season has gone along.
Hanging out with Brad Muller. And Brad, I think nationally, when people look at this team from the outside in, it can be easy to kind of forget about Raven Johnson because she's not scoring 20 points,
right,
or scoring a ton of points a game. But I think you saw her value a lot, specifically in these last 2 games, when it comes to, again, Tennessee breaking the press and setting the tempo and being able to play up tempo because of how good she manages the floor and runs the floor. And then against LSU, how great she was defensively as well. She does so many of the non-scoring things that's required in teams and role players to win championships. So like when this team's talked about on a national stage, I feel like she's probably the most overlooked player because of how important her role is on doing everything but scoring the basketball.
Yeah, and it's funny when you watch her, when you're around her, she seems to be the most relaxed, stress-free kind of person. Like I sometimes I wonder, does she know we're about to play the best team? Because
right.
Because she's pretty relaxed. Like we were up at Tennessee, and we get there very early before the game, and I'm setting up the equipment, and she comes over and just sits down on the table where I'm setting up, just kind of looking, what I'm doing and playing with the microphone and stuff, and just not a care in the world that they're about to play this full court pressing style of that Tennessee throws at you, and just seemed not concerned with anything, but she goes out there and just gets the job done. And, but back to your original point, doesn't put up numbers that are going to wow you. I think you could say that about this whole team really the last 2 years, because from a number standpoint, because of the depth that South Carolina has, there's nobody's numbers that scream first team All-American, because nobody's averaging more than 12 points. It's, and that's the way it was last year, even with Camilla, it was a lot of people between 8 and 12 points a game. So you might not have a bunch of first team all SEC winners, even though if you had half the talent, maybe most of these people would be first team because you double their numbers. But that's just the way this team is built. And, it's pretty cool.
On that note, sit tight. I'm going to get you. I know Brad's got it, but at least you're closer to home now. So we can keep Brad for a couple more minutes. Yeah. But I got a question that relates to women's basketball via men's basketball in the conference. I'll get to that on the other side. Brad Muller hanging out here with us at ProSwing on Forest Drive. Come by and say, hey, you're listening to the Postgame Show.
12 minutes in front of 5 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. We are broadcasting live at ProSwing on Forest Drive. Ed Bird at Master Control. Leanne is here to make sure that we don't screw it up. So far, we haven't. So far.
Yeah, there's still time.
And she's got T-shirts if you want one. Come get them.
You just come in for the T-shirt.
Just come in,
grab
say
a
hey.
T-shirt. No one's going to say no to.
That's right. You can get some. They're going to bring some fresh food over here shortly for the folks that are playing in the next round of the tournament. That once work gets done, but there's got a few snacks. Grab a cookie, grab a roll from.
Apparently, this is from a source. The cookies are macadamia nut. So if you're into that sort of thing,
I'll eat that. Yeah, you don't like that?
Not my favorite. Not my favorite. I can live without.
It's better than oatmeal.
Yeah, it's better than oatmeal.
Especially if you pick up an oatmeal cookie that you thought was chocolate chip, that's the worst.
Yeah. Well, when they have the raisin.
Borderline traumatizing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Like it is
You
borderline
take-
traumatizing because you think something's wrong with the cookie, and then in turn it will be wrong with you.
That's fair.
right.
Somebody
Like that
fruited
is
the cookie. Yeah.
Don't love that. Don't love it. Deceitful.
Brad, you've been here a long time. You went to school here. You know a lot about both basketball programs, and I don't think there's any real debate right now that Southeastern Conference men's basketball has never been stronger.
Yep.
Quite literally, maybe ever. We just talked about the fact that South Carolina, we know what South Carolina's place in current women's basketball hierarchy is, just went through a 5-game stretch of playing ranked teams all in conference. Can you say, and you've been doing this a while now, do you feel like SEC women's basketball is at that same point?
I think so, because actually I asked Coach Staley that question last night on the call-in show, because there's a lot of years the SEC is really good. And there's some years, like last year, it was very top-heavy, South Carolina and LSU. And Tennessee wasn't bad, but after that, it was down last year compared to where it is. Kentucky used to be up there a few years ago. They were bad. Now they're good again. But yes, SEC right now, I think there's 8 teams ranked in this week's top 25 poll. There's Ole Miss had just dropped out because they lost to some top 25 teams in the SEC. So it's beaten up on each other. But throughout the course of the season, you've had 9 or 10 teams that have been in the top 25. Yeah, I don't think we've seen this depth top to bottom in the SEC in a while. Certainly not in the men, but in the women's. Yeah, this is about as tough as I've seen it. This is my 18th year with the program. That I think this is the best it's been in terms of the number of teams that can beat you. Even the teams that aren't ranked right now are still pretty good, good enough that you have to show up. Like Ole Miss, who had just dropped out. It makes for an interesting tournament up in Greenville this year because people say, oh, but South Carolina keeps winning. Yeah, they keep winning, but that doesn't mean these other teams aren't good enough to beat you, especially if you go to their gym. We got to go to Texas. We played Texas here, but we got to go to their place. Who knows what's going to happen there? And who knows what's going to happen on a neutral court? We saw that last year where, thank goodness they didn't guard Camilla,
or the inbound pass.
Right. That's maybe the reason that coach isn't there anymore, but you're that close, and that was a pretty good team. And you've got more good teams this year than I think there ever have been. It'll make it fun come tournament time to see how many get to the NCAA tournament, just depending on how bad the league keeps beating up on each other. Yeah.
Well, which do you think is the biggest threat in the SEC? Not named LSU.
Well, Texas is for sure the talent they've got. When South Carolina played Texas here, South Carolina played well. If you're from Texas' standpoint, you're like, man, we just ran into a buzzsaw because South Carolina played about as well as they could have played in that game. And I think, and I don't mean this to detract from what South Carolina did or how they played. I think Texas was a little off that night. Their star players missed makeable shots. Okay, that maybe would have made that game more competitive. Early on. I mean, South Carolina did everything it needed to do and blew them out. But Texas has got everything that you want. Size, good guard play, and depth. That's what you need. But
and I like Vic.
Yeah. Vic knows how to coach.
Yeah,
he's had his struggles against Coach Staley, obviously, especially when there's any kind of trophy on the line. But and let's hope that continues. But yeah, between South Carolina, Texas, LSU, Tennessee's the kind of team that can get on a run. I mean, it's going to be fun. There's up and coming programs. Vanderbilt, Shea Ralph is doing some really good things there to really resurrect that program. I think they're ranked for the first time in 11 years. So it's cool. Kentucky is getting back to being Kentucky. They made a coaching change and he's doing a great job. I mean, he brought Virginia Tech to the Final Four last year, and I was trying to do it with Kentucky.
He brought Virginia Tech to Kentucky.
Basically did.
Their players.
So it's going to make for a heck of a tournament. But when you look at the top 3 in the league, it's certainly South Carolina, LSU and Texas. And of course, Texas is the team we got to play at least twice.
I got about a minute left, so a quick version. What's the mood been like around the program with the girls, especially after the announcement that Dawn got re-upped, and just everything's going well for her?
Well, my favorite comment from Dawn was they all asked me for $1, but yeah,
just $1. They're lowballing it, yeah.
So no, I mean, I don't think. I think they're pretty proud of that. Hey, we play for this coach. I mean, they were already proud anyway, but
right.
Not that anybody believes she was going anywhere, but I think they're excited for her because it's just a great testament to the commitment that there is to this program and to this coach. And on a bigger scale, it shows commitment to women's basketball. More schools are investing in women's sports, and it's good to see. Coach Kelly called it, to being to the standard, and it's not just because she doesn't care about the money, but it's just really cool that it is being appreciated for what it is now and how much attention it brings on a national level to Columbia, South Carolina.
Well, enjoy your in-season Thursday off.
Yeah, it's weird.
Mrs. Muller will cook you a nice dinner, or you should cook for her.
You don't want me cooking.
No.
I clean. I clean.
Hey, listen, just go across the street, grab one of those Stouffer's lasagnas, and tell her you cooked, man.
Yeah, not gonna.
I don't know if that. Well, I don't know if you might have slipped that one by her.
She's a good cook, so
that's good. Whatever it takes. But a Thursday off, a rarity during the basketball season. SC Brad 92 to follow along on Twitter, and back at it
Sunday at noon, and we'll retire Asia Wilson's jersey before the game.
Very cool. Auburn,
yes,
Auburn. Good stuff. All right, that's Brad Muller. We'll have it for you here on Sunday. Thanks, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, lots more to do here in the final hour. We have headlines of the day. Again, a couple of serious stories going on in pro sports, one in the NFL, one out of the NBA, and we'll get you the details as well on that ACC ESPN story too, plus a drive around the SEC. Is now a good time to go hit some golf balls?
I think now would be a great time to hit some golf balls.
Yeah.
Or else the golf balls will hit you.
Do I have a live read I have to do? Maybe I might not have time. I'm trying to just excuse myself because I don't want Brad laughing at me since he said he was gonna.
Now we have to make you hit it.
I know. All right, 5 o'clock hour coming up. You're listening to the Postgame Show. All right, it's been almost spring-like the last couple of days, and I think this is going to continue. That's the beauty of living in the South this time of year. But eventually, it'll get cold again, and then it'll get hot again, and your system will get taxed. And if you are unsure of your HVAC's reliability, now might be a great time to call 803-677-1500 and get the pros at AAA Heating and Air into your home. Make sure everything is running nice and smooth. Again, it'll get cold again for a couple of days. All right. If it's time for something new, take advantage of the great opportunity that Roy and Dana Finley have for you. No payments or interest for a full year, guaranteed financing, $1,500 system buyback rebate, and a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. I mean, come on. What more do you need, right? And I love these people. They are fantastic at what they do. They keep me nice and comfortable. They even work with Bill Gunner. 803-677-1500. That's our good friends at AAA Heating and Air.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell with many an accident to get to you. So we'll go ahead and start with one on Clemson Road at Sparkleberry Lane, Enterprise Parkway at Platte Springs Road, I-26 westbound after Sunset Boulevard near exit 110, I-77 northbound at 2 Notch Road near exit 17, Knox Abbott Drive near State Street, Pole Branch Road near 2 Notch Road, Rabin Road at US 1 and 2 Notch Road, and Spear Creek Church Road at US 1, and you guessed it, 2 Notch Road.
It is 5 o'clock on this Thursday. Welcome back in. Also, the final hour of the post-game show, along with Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips, broadcasting live today from ProSwing on Forest Drive. It's our new hangout, man. We'll be here again tomorrow, too. Been here a few times already. Appreciate Michael, Nathan, David, the whole crew for having us out. Thanks again to our buddy Brad Muller for joining us. Ed Bird's at Master Control back in the studio. Leanne's out here making sure we're good. Jeannie's here. So the whole gang, come by. And those of you that are maybe on the way for your tee times for day one of the tournament, look forward to seeing you, and good luck.
Best of luck.
And again, still a few slots. We'll tell you more about that in just a bit. In the meantime, got a couple of very serious headlines in our integrated media headlines of the day. First, Baltimore Ravens kicker and one of the best ever, Justin Tucker, today accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by 6 massage therapists in the Baltimore area. This, according to an investigation published by the Baltimore Banner. According to the article, Tucker's conduct caused some therapists to refuse to work with him again. It resulted in 2 different businesses banning him from returning to their establishments. The allegations reportedly occurred more than 10 years ago, or at least between 2012 and 2016. Those were Justin Tucker's first seasons, 5 seasons in the National Football League. Very quickly after the article was posted, Justin Tucker released a public statement through his attorney saying that these allegations were unequivocally false. Quote, "Throughout my career as a professional athlete, I have always sought to conduct myself with the utmost professionalism. I have never before been accused of misconduct of any kind, and I have never been accused of acting inappropriately in front of a massage therapist or during a massage therapy session or during other body work." He said the article, quote, "takes innocuous or ambiguous interactions and skews them so out of proportion that they are no longer recognizable. This is desperate tabloid fodder." The NFL's personal conduct policy could subject Justin Tucker to further discipline. The league today, through their spokesperson, Brian McCarthy, said, "We first became aware of these allegations from the reporter investigating this story, as they were not previously shared with the NFL. We take any allegations seriously and will look into the matter." The Ravens, echoing a lot of the league statements, saying we take any allegations of this nature seriously and we will continue to monitor this situation. Again, Justin Tucker, through his attorneys, have said that the banner reporting is speculative and, quote, "impossible to prove." His attorneys also said that Tucker has never been banned from the 2 spas that were mentioned earlier. The Baltimore Banner says it began its investigation earlier this month after it received a tip. 6 different massage therapists contacted the paper to allege that Tucker exposed himself and other things that I will not get into live on the radio, but you can read the article to learn more. That should suggest to you some of the seriousness of what these women are saying. Tucker did conclude in his post, I support a process that allows claims to be properly investigated, but for the sake of myself and family, I cannot allow these claims to go unchallenged. We'll see where this takes us. Justin Tucker, again, statistically amongst the very best kickers ever, most believe that he has already had a Hall of Fame career. You try to, in stories like this, separate the football from the person. It's difficult to do sometimes, as we've also seen with the Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson. But it's certainly troubling that 6 people independently go to a newspaper in a big city and say these things. Again, I'm not saying one's right, one's not. I don't know, but it's quite serious.
That's what makes this really, really unfortunate, is that, the attorney makes a point in terms of this is going to be, potentially really hard to prove. Right. And this is when these situations get really unfortunate, because what we're really going to crave and really need to know is the truth. Yeah. Right. And it's in Justin Tucker's best interest to deny it. It is in the interest of the victims to come forward. And that's not an easy thing to do with a professional athlete in a large city, where the power structure that athletes hold in those large cities is significantly larger than ones they hold in their careers. Yeah. Right. So it's hard for those parties specifically. And I think what you hit on too is the troubling part. It's not like it was one person saying it. We have 6 different accounts, and that's what made the Deshaun Watson stuff really troubling, right? It wasn't just one person coming out.
23,
there were
24.
24. And at that point, this isn't some 1 or 2 people drumming up a story to get attention or money. 24 people is a lot. Yeah. And even 6 is one of those things too, where it's that you're sensing a pattern, and we'll see where it goes from there. But it's a really bad look for Justin Tucker, the Baltimore Ravens, and the National Football League, that another player that is highly recognizable has being accused of improper conduct and a massage therapy.
And again, there is more, as I say, not going to get into all that live on the air, but wherever you get your sports news, you can find the reporting on this, and we'll see where it goes next. Continuing our headlines of the day, this one now, again, very serious, goes to the NBA. Former Hornet and current Miami Heat player Terry Rozier is under investigation by the federal prosecutors for unusual betting patterns surrounding the play of Rozier when he was playing for Charlotte nearly 2 years ago. It's part of the same probe that led to the ban of Jonte Porter, who's been banned for life.
And is going to prison.
By the NBA. The Wall Street Journal first reported this. It noted that Rozier, who played for the Hornets at that time, has neither been charged with a crime, nor has he been accused of wrongdoing. The NBA said it looked into the matter and did not find that any rules were broken. Here is a statement from the NBA. Quote, in March 2023, the NBA was alerted to unusual betting activity related to Terry Rozier's performance in a game between Charlotte and New Orleans. The league conducted an investigation and did not find a violation of NBA rules. We are now aware of an investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of New York related to this matter, and have been cooperating with this investigation. The U.S. Attorney's Office, by the way, at least in terms of this report, did not, and this is from the wire services, did not immediately comment after being contacted. Rozier has an attorney named Jim Trusty who said, quote, we are aware of the NBA's 2023 investigation, which determined there was absolutely no wrongdoing by Mr. Rozier, and we are confident that the ongoing government investigation will arrive at the exact same conclusion. This was a game, as I said, back in March of 23 between the Pelicans and Hornets. Rozier played the first 9 minutes of that game, did not return. He claimed he had a foot injury, but he did not play again that entire season. Now, of course, by mid-March, late March, the regular season is nearly done.
8 games left.
Yeah, they had 8 games left, and they were not going to the playoffs that year.
Because of the Hornets.
Yeah, well, In the game, Rozier had 5 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, but according to this, well below his usual total output for a full game. Online posts from that night show that some gamblers were very angry with sports books when it became evident that Rozier was not going to return after the first quarter. Many saying that something, quote, shady had gone on regarding prop bets involving his stats for the evening, including one gambler who posted an image of a ticket for a 3-leg parlay, $65 bet that would have returned more than $400. The bettor played over certain situations, picked Rozier to exceed some of his numbers. Didn't happen. He had a foot injury and didn't play again. Kind of maybe like the last story here. How with certain things with Porter, it was a lot more provable.
Yes, significantly. They were,
and because there's a text chain. In this situation, okay, he hurt his foot. He didn't have a good night. That feels, and again, they've already looked into it once.
The NBA looked into it. And it's probably in the NBA's best interest to maybe not look under some rocks that you could have plausible deniability in terms of not looking.
Well,
or maybe
you
they're
step
not
aside here, right?
investigators.
If you're the NBA, you step aside.
Well, this is what this tells me, is that the NBA did the investigation first, but the state of New York has something evidence-wise the NBA doesn't have.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying necessarily to insinuate the NBA it's against their best interest to fully look into this, because it would be an absolute nightmare for them to have another scandal. In their best interest is the Jonte Porter thing is the beginning and the end of all improprieties with gambling in their sport, right?
Right.
It would be much against, their best interest to have another scandal. But at the same time, they're not trained investigators. The NBA did an internal investigation. This is not what they do for a living, right? I'm sure some of them are really good at it, but when the federal government gets involved, it's because they have information that needs to be looked at further. And if this is part of the Jonte Porter thing where they scope all of betting in the NBA, then they don't go down this path without having something that is seriously putting them there.
I agree with you. And one thing to be clear, again, as it said in the article, that Rozier has not been charged with anything. Now, to your point about the feds, when the feds release an indictment, at that point, 99 times out of 100, or maybe even better as a ratings percentage, they're doing it because they got the evidence.
Because it's time to take the kneel down and milk the clock out because the game's over.
In this case, that's not yet happened.
Nope.
But that they are onto it and that it has become public could be telling.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we'll be careful here to not say, well, Terry Rozier definitely did this. Again, I could look at it and go, all right, you had a foot injury and you didn't play anymore.
Yeah, you could.
You
definitely could.
You tweaked something. It didn't feel good. And now I'm going to be a smart aleck for a second. Just playing on a bad team. It might be like, you know what, man, I'm done.
You couldn't pay me another dime to play for the Charlotte Hornets. And you know what? I'm sure that's a sentiment that is shared around the league.
But if there's something greater and larger, then we'll find those things out.
Hope not.
We'll find those things out too. All right, that's our integrated media headlines of the day. We do have another one that, but I don't have time to get to it here because for those of you who missed it, there was big news from Disney and the Atlantic Coast Conference, and we'll get into that and what it means when the postgame show returns to ProSwing on Forest Drive. Love telling you about AAA Heating and Air, how to stay nice and comfortable with the fine folks over at AAA. If you are ready for a brand new system in your home, don't know how old yours is, when it's last been checked, serviced, and it's also maybe costing you an arm and a leg, something new, something more efficient that is just right for your home, 803-677-1500, or you can log on to callAAAtoday.com, punch in a few quick numbers, and they'll give you a free estimate right there online. Boom. How about that? All right. Then you can take advantage of tremendous financing opportunities, no payments or interest for 12 months. You got guaranteed financing. You get a $1,500 system buyback rebate. Boom. Money in your pocket. And a 15-year parts and labor guarantee. But maybe you just need a quick service, whatever it might be. 803-677-1500. Something small, something big, something new. Call my good friends at AAA Heating and Air. $18 minutes after 5 o'clock, Thursday afternoon. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay and Elijah with you. One other addendum to the headlines, in addition to the ACC one I'll get. Elijah showed me this. This happened right when I was finishing up that story. This like literally breaking news 5 minutes ago. Max Scherzer has signed a 1-year deal with Toronto. It'll pay him a base of $15.5 million. Doesn't say here about incentives, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there are a bunch of incentives in here. Last year, he didn't make a start until right before the All-Star break. What is he? Does he have his age in here? How old is he now? He got to be about 40, right?
He has to be. And I mean, injuries the last few years have really derailed.
Yeah, he turned 40 in July, so he'll be 41 in the middle of the season.
When was the last time that he got more than 25 starts in a season?
Well, I'll read this here from Jeff Passan. Once a durable workhorse who made 30-plus starts each season from 09 through 18, Scherzer has now missed significant time each of the past 3 seasons, making 23 starts in 2022, missing time with an oblique strain, and making 27 starts in 2023 due to a strained shoulder and back spasms. His fastball last couple of years averaging 92.5 miles per hour, down from his 93.7 in 2023. So
quite literally losing his fastball.
But 15 point, hey, if you can get something out of him, that's a lot of money that's guaranteed. And again, if there's incentives in there that could, I'm sure there are, pitch certain number of innings, you'll get X, certain number of strikeouts, wins, y'all know how it goes. Yeah. But, all right, there you go.
Hadn't started more than 30 games for the same team in a year since 2018.
Well,
last year in Washington. Now he technically got 30 the year he got traded.
I mean, in all seriousness, he's now 40, so he's been sliding since he was 37.
Yeah,
I get it, man.
I get it. Yeah, I totally
and he
get it.
did. He pitched when he pitched. He was a power pitcher, and he pitched hard, and he pitched a lot. I mean, you're going to break down. So
eventually.
How you find a way to harness some of what you got left, I think, will be very telling.
Oh yeah, and how you evolve, and also how are the Blue Jays going to use him? I think that's going to matter a lot too. How do you use him?
I would think for a while. I mean, get him going nice and slow during spring training. Pitchers and catchers report here in just a few days, actually.
That's crazy.
I'd probably make him the 5th starter. Just don't put him.
So he could be a good 5th starter.
Yeah,
I mean, it can still give you enough of that.
And then if by mid-August everything's going well, and Toronto is in a playoff hunt, which I would think they could be, they got a talented roster.
They've underachieved.
They have
pretty mightily the last.
They have. They've got some talent. But they've got money to spend, man. They can spend a lot of money. If by mid-August it's going well, then and I don't know what well they could define well on their own terms. I could see maybe a shift at that point. Like, all right, well, if he's capable, let's maybe move him into the 4th slot, 3rd slot, and get him in line for the playoff run. If they're, where he needs to pitch a little bit more. I don't know, but that's cool. Good for him. Max Scherzer, 15.5. Again, that's nice. Nice work.
Good for him.
If you can get it. Again, today, this isn't, we're not continuing headlines anymore, but for those of you who missed our discussion of this earlier in the program, I'll go over it again for you in a more capsulized version. Disney and ESPN did exercise their option today to continue. I guess it happened, made news today, to continue televising ACC sports through 2036. Obviously, the vast majority of you are familiar with the fact that Clemson and Florida State both sued the conference, not so much over television rights, but over the grant of rights that had to do with television when they got this deal done now, 7, 8, 9 years ago. And Clemson and Florida State both saying that the exit penalty was exorbitant and too punitive, and that if they were to find a way out, that they wanted to take their media rights with them. Again, I've spoken to somebody that's been close to this situation, and the word is we're here today because everybody in the league knows that grant of rights is indeed ironclad, and that there is no alternative. From a Clemson and FSU perspective, there is no alternative for another conference. There's nowhere to go. And so we've arrived here. Now, those schools have, with through their attorneys in the conference, been negotiating. There is word that the ACC is indeed, and this is one of the things that Disney was concerned about. The ACC is going to, and we don't know exactly what it looks like yet, restructure its revenue payments. From what I could gather, what's likely to happen is that the pool of money that the ACC distributes annually will still be, the same amount, and it'll go up, on a percentage like anything else does through inflation and cost of living and whatever. But they're going to cut a portion of that off the top, then distribute equal amounts. And then what's cut off the top will be put into a second pool that will be redistributed based not on performance alone, but really more on ratings performance is what I'm hearing. So there was one story today that talked about a brand fund. And some of this could be semantics, Elijah, but I think, a brand fund, Florida State basically wanted to say, hey, we're the most popular school in the conference. And I think, from what I could gather, I think there's probably some others that have gone, not necessarily, bro. People know who you are, sure, but they know who we are too. And I think you could argue, this is me talking now, Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Miami are the biggest brands in the conference. I think that's, you've got some good ones in Louisville and Pitt and Georgia Tech, but they're not.
Duke basketball as an individual,
absolutely,
in terms of just an individual sports brand. Duke basketball, because their fan base is more national,
right?
Probably bigger than Clemson football and Florida State football.
I'm sure there are measurables out there to determine that. But that's what's going to happen. And I think once Disney understood that the negotiations had gone well enough, or the settlement talks, if you will, had gone well enough, they were in. Yesterday in Pickens County, I say very quietly because it's just not always the kind of thing that makes news. But yesterday in Pickens County, Clemson and the ACC asked the judge hearing that case for an extension for some talks. And that extension, I believe, is going to take them into April. And that there's a good feeling that this will be done by then in a more official capacity. And as I told you, and again, I want to stress to you guys in the audience, this is me talking now, not anything I got from somebody today. But in reading between the lines, once I tried to process a lot of this, it feels like this is basically looking at Florida State and going, hey, everybody's good. And y'all need to be good too, because if not, and I told you, I have a hunch, again, just this is me talking as a talk radio host, that Florida State will get a little petulant one more time before, well, we want what we want. We've already told y'all that. But this isn't happening from a Disney perspective without Disney knowing that the most important things, i.e. grant of rights, is rock solid, because there's no way Disney is going to say, yes, we're going to keep paying you for an additional decade without knowing that if you twisted it the right way, that you could be out and then have the value of this be something that was no longer beneficial to Disney. And I keep saying Disney. I'm not going to say ESPN here.
It's bigger.
I'm going to say Disney. So in that respect, I think Florida State is basically going to have to take it or leave it. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, and they can't hold the conference hostage like I think they probably wanted to.
Yeah.
Right. They wanted to hold them hostage, and now we've kind of made the analogy in the last hour that the only weapon they have to hold this thing hostage with now is a water gun.
Right.
And I think the rest of the conference can gang up on them and say, this is happening whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Like, you better make yourself comfortable because you ain't going anywhere.
And with some of these, incentives and additional bonus payments, whatever you want to label them as built in, then it should allow Florida State and Clemson and potentially North Carolina or Miami. Again, you mentioned Duke basketball. Duke may get to keep, let's just use this as a hypothetical example. Duke may get to keep the vast majority of the NCAA tournament money that they earn.
If they're the ones that make
Yeah,
the final
you
four,
make it, every level you go, you get more money. And most schools are required to redistribute that amongst their conference partners. Maybe you get to keep it now or keep 90%. I don't know yet. Those things aren't all done and fully negotiated
the specifics.
through.
Yeah.
But the ACC and ESPN and Disney had until February 1st to make this decision. Well, Disney had until February 1st to make this decision. Again, you're not making this decision without knowing, not hoping, knowing that what it is that you're going to be paying for is going to be there for you from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
So, interesting story today, but more details to emerge. But I think this thing is pretty much done at this point,
and probably signals the end of the chapter of conference realignment.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I don't know.
That might be me wishing out loud, but also
Yeah.
this is a conclusion I'm drawing.
Yeah. All right, there you go. We're live at ProSwing. Drive around the SEC is next.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to you that are causing some issues on the roadways, starting with one on Clemson Road at Sparkleberry Lane, Enterprise Parkway at Platte Springs Road, I-26 westbound just after Sunset Boulevard near exit 110, I-77 northbound over at Two Notch Road near exit 17, Knox Abbott Drive near State Street, Pond Branch Road near Two Notch, Rabin Road at US 1 near Two Notch, and lastly, Spear Creek Church Road at US 1, and you guessed it, also at Two Notch Road.
It is Drive Around the SEC time on this Thursday. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Final few minutes of this program. We'll be back tomorrow here at ProSwing. Want to give a shout out to Dan Hogan. Dan is playing down here on one of the bays on the Golf Zone, amazing golf simulators at ProSwing. And Dan, about 2 or 3 minutes ago,
Right before we got back from break.
hole in one. Hole in one.
Tough competition. A hole in one.
You know what? That's
Ace.
pretty. I don't care if it's on a simulator, on the course. I've never hit a hole in one. I did on a par 3 at Limerick. I think it was y'all help me out. Second or third hole at Limerick. Now I can't remember what that little par 3. No, it's not fake.
I'm gonna need some pictures.
I don't have any pictures of it. I didn't hit a hole in one. I got to within like.
These.
No, here's the thing. I got. No, this is why the story sucks. I got to within like 4 feet, and I two-putted. It's terrible, man.
Oh, the greatest tee shot of your life, and you couldn't.
I could have at least made a birdie. Yeah.
You couldn't.
I can still remember it, man. I was like, you got to be. That's what I'm saying. I was for a while there when I played a lot, back in my 20s, especially. Again, my buddies and I, we played like twice a week. We played a lot of golf, and I got good. I could hit the ball well. I could, I had a decent short game. I could not putt, and I 3-putted so much. I 3-putted so, and we didn't do gimmies and all that. And we weren't like out there, playing for money or anything. We wanted to play golf, and so you play a legit game of golf, and you got to finish the hole. And yeah, I got. I think I want to say that. Is it the second or third hole now? I just can't remember because I hadn't been to Limerick in a while. But yeah, that little par 3 kind of downhill and beautiful, man. Probably anyway, inside of 5 feet.
It's gonna haunt you forever.
Oh, it does. It still does. And
it's at 5 feet still.
Yeah, and I had 2-putted. I get a par. I got it right there. Like beautiful, man. Par.
I don't know if the CIA could have gotten that info out of me.
Well, at least I didn't tell you that. Like I 3-putted from 5 feet and made a bogey. Right. I didn't.
True.
I didn't.
True.
Do
it could
that.
be worse. It could be worse.
It could have been worse. But no,
Another thing I like to tell myself in a lot of those.
I was
worse.
I was in the group when at one of Steve Spurrier's golf outings when Lorenzo Ward, Whammy, hit a hole in one, and Coach was in the group behind us, and like you just said, video evidence, and he was like, "Who? What? Whammy did?" Like I think Steve for a second, but I mean Lorenzo went nuts, man. I would have
gone nuts if I ever hit a hole in one. I'm so bad at golf too that if I get one on the green and one, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm getting pumped.
Yeah, sure.
If I were to ever get a hole in one, I'm on nudity watch.
Yeah.
Like I
don't need that.
Clothes might be off.
I don't need that. But Dan, way to go, buddy. Hole in one here at ProSwing. And so those of you that know Dan, make sure you call him up, shoot him a text, and congratulate your boy.
Yeah, big deal.
Did all right. Drive around the SEC last night, basketball. No surprises really in any of these games. Although the Bama Mississippi State game was pretty good. State had their opportunities, but Bama won in the hump, 88-84. Ole Miss over Texas, 72-69. That was another pretty good game. Ole Miss pulled away late, and Auburn all over a not very good LSU team. Although LSU made it a little tighter in the second half, but Auburn had a big halftime lead, 87-74. The final, Elijah was quizzing me because I did not look at the box score. Janai Broom on his own had 11 offensive rebounds.
Yeah. The team at 25
he's
total.
He seems to be healthy and back.
Yes, I think he's good. Originally, like on the game Saturday when they played Tennessee on ESPN, and Bruce Pearl was on College Game Day, said, yeah, he's going to play. We might give him 20 minutes. We might. And I think he played something like 34, 35, something like that. He almost played the whole game. Like he wasn't just playing 20 minutes, and they gutted out that win. I think Janai Broom's back. I think he avoided the worst case scenario with that ankle injury he sustained while he was here visiting Columbia.
Which is good news. Looking ahead to the weekend, again, Carolina has A&M. That's a night game. Florida will be at Tennessee. That should be a fun. Why that one? That should be your primetime game.
That should be.
It really
one should be. And I think maybe the reason it isn't is because of what Florida did to him last time. I don't know, but that's not going to matter.
And have I just missed this? By the way, you tell me. How long have I supposed to have been calling Thompson Bowling Arena the Food City Center?
It's not.
Okay.
It might be officially. It might be on paper. But that's not what
Thompson Bowling Arena. Man.
I ain't calling it Food City Center.
Food City Center.
Get out of here.
I've never been to a Food City. Are they fun?
Really good cakes.
Okay.
That was when I was a kid because there was a Food City in Jamestown for a little bit. That's where my birthday cakes usually came from.
That's nice.
Bangers, man. They were good.
Yeah.
They do make good cakes.
I like Publix cakes.
I love Publix cakes.
Yeah, they're good, man.
Love Publix cakes.
And
Bird does too.
Up in Asheville, Ingles, they make good cakes.
I've never been to an Ingles.
Ingles, man, I tell you what.
Never been to an Ingles.
Ingles are nice. Most of them, anyway. But most of them are really nice. Well, there's one near where my daughter is up there, and it is. I'm like, man, why can't we get one of these in Columbia? Because it is nice.
Yeah,
I mean, it is nice. Anyway,
I take a Food City in Columbia. I think the folks here would like it.
Yeah. Missouri and Mississippi State and Starkville. Auburn goes to Ole Miss. Vandy goes to Oklahoma. Georgia at Alabama. Texas at LSU. And the big one of the weekend, at least because of who's coaching, Arkansas goes to Kentucky. Rick Pitino today was asked about John Calipari's return to Lexington, and Coach Pitino said, well, he just hopes the fans give him a nice ovation. I guess Rick at some point went back as the Louisville's coach, and saw Kentucky
many times.
So
first time was 2001. I saw the video that the other day, him walking out onto the floor.
Walking out of that door.
He was walking out of that door and onto that floor.
It's hard to believe how long ago it was, man, for him.
What a crazy career arc, just in general, for somebody. All scandal aside, I mean, coaching Providence, going to a Final Four.
Yep.
Your best player from that Providence team ends up winning 2 national championships as a coach on his own, coaching in the NBA. Then you go to Kentucky, you win a national championship at a blue blood program. You leave to dip your toes in the NBA waters, try something like full court pressing for entire games that will absolutely never work at the NBA level, leaving in embarrassing fashion, and then going to the rival of that blue blood program, eventually taking them to a national championship that won't get to count on paper because of your scandal. And then being out of the league or out of college basketball for a while, coaching in Greece. Or wherever,
where was
in Europe?
Where was
Greece?
Did he go to the Knicks after Providence?
Maybe.
And then after Kentucky was Boston.
And before even before Providence, assistant under Jim Boeheim.
Yeah.
So and then he comes back and is now coaching St. John's, and that's a top 10 defense in college basketball right now. They can win the Big East.
I love Pitino.
This guy has one of the wildest coaching just journeys in the history of basketball.
I'm going to say 20% of the Rupp patrons boo him. and then the other
Calipari.
80% will be nice.
Yeah, I think he might get some golf claps. I don't think it's not going to be a standing ovation.
Yeah, let's do this
because it got toxic. It got so toxic.
20% booze, 30% meh.
Yeah, no response.
Yeah.
Nothing. They're just kind of watching.
Yeah, and then the rest will be polite. And then from that politeness of clapping, it could be the golf clap up to a few that stand up and appreciate
the cheers. When they win, will be a little louder.
Yeah. Now Kentucky will. Let's see. Let me look for
Kentucky should. Smack them up pretty good.
The BPI says 82%. What does the EBPI tell you?
Leaning towards 88.
Okay.
Well, I got a little more confidence that Kentucky smacks them up.
That's the drive around the SEC, brought to you by Herndon Chevy. Stop by the showroom, see why Herndon makes you smile. We'll tell you what's going on this weekend. Still a couple of slots available in the first ever golf tournament here at ProSwing. You can win $1,000. You're listening to the Postgame Show. 11 minutes in front of 6 o'clock Thursday afternoon, almost into the evening. Carolina Calls coming your way, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Again, Bill Gunner will be here on time. Stephen Colwell is with us. He's running the place.
He's here on time.
Yeah. Oh, he's definitely here on time.
Steven's always here
I don't
on
know if
time.
he leaves.
Yeah.
How you doing?
They let you leave?
Pretty good. Yeah, every now and then.
That's
Gotta
good.
get home and get cleaned up everywhere.
Well, maybe Geddes and Hartlaw, they're good people.
They're good people.
Yeah.
I've known them for a very long time.
Yeah, they'll take care of it. Yeah, I have too. I couldn't live without them because again, the house.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, you know who my superhero is now? It's Philip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he
is,
makes it. He makes it go.
He is on speed dial on my phone.
Yeah, mine too, man.
You still utilize speed dial?
Mine too.
No.
I just say Siri.
He's just on like the favorites list.
I say
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's actually higher praise.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say Siri, call Superman, and it's Philip Parker. And,
yeah, I'm like, I need help. I work around all this technology, but I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah,
so.
that's it.
that would be me. You wouldn't want me pressing any buttons.
All right, so first off, we just gave Dan down here a shout out for a hole in one. All right, you've been running ProSwing since it opened out, by World Headquarters in Chapin. How many aces have we seen at ProSwing?
So I will first of all, let's do the qualifier, right? So this is the first one we've ever had in a league or tournament,
right? That's pretty
cool. Okay, that's historic.
Which is really cool. So
that
that's
is historic.
It's the first of its nature.
That's cool.
But other than that, I think we've had maybe 7 or 8 total. So that's including the year and a half we've been open at Chapin. We had one here, I think, the day after the grand opening.
Oh, wow.
Some guys were in and hit one. So that's the second one in ProSwing Forest Acres as well.
But first ever in a tournament setting.
Yeah.
So that's
my claim to fame is still the only one that has the hole in one on a par 4, though.
Oh,
so I'm going to hold on to that one.
That's a good drop right there. A hole in one on a par 4.
I had to give myself a little.
Which course was that on?
It was the Vedanta Arta Norman course, which is actually going to be our February monthly tournament here. So
nice
on our golf slow machines.
All right. Well, and the good news is for those who enter, you can't win and beat them.
I can't. No, that's correct.
But I will cheer for them not to get a hole in one on any part.
Yeah,
so you can maintain that title.
Somebody was playing it earlier, and he's like, "I can drive this green." I'm like, "Just don't make it. Don't take that from me."
That's like, no, you can't. You can't. Actually, no one's done it. You can't. Don't do it.
We were talking with Nathan earlier, and still a couple of slots left that people can get in.
A few. Yep, we've had a couple. Obviously, while you guys are on talking about it out here today, so folks have called and we booked a few for tomorrow and for Saturday. We still have. I think there's 3 or 4 slots left from what I understand.
All right. And phone number
is 803-528-1617.
528-1617.
That's Nate's number, right? They tested me on that earlier, and I failed earlier too. So.
When in doubt, just give him somebody.
Or you could just come by if you're driving up and down Forest Drive.
ProSwingColumbia.com. The phone number is there. You can find us online. It'll get you directly to either Nathan or myself.
Yeah. This place, I know you've been doing it for a while now, but this location, even in direct comparison to Chapin, just so much bigger. You got 4 of these golf zone simulators, but for people who may be new to it, just how cool is it?
For me, it's literally is the next best thing to being outside playing golf. If you can't be outside on a real course playing, it doesn't get any better than this. We're very blessed to have the relationship with Golf Zone as a dealer, as well as functioning in a commercial capacity. But the machines are unlike anything else that is out there on the market. The articulating, the moving swing plate, you're not going to get that really on any other machine. It's got the 5 different lies with the simulated roughs and the bunkers, and just the technology, the high-speed cameras. It's pretty
the
unreal.
high-speed cameras, man. That's where it's at. Anything that you want to know about your swing or the ball that you hit, you get so much information just looking at people play, man. The amount of information that it feeds you,
what this could do for golf teams, right? High school teams and such, and I think y'all were telling me a couple weeks ago, unless you have like a $10,000 portable TrackMan to take with you for golf practice, you can't get this information. But coaches could eat this kind of analytics up.
Yeah, and you've got some schools or teams wherever that don't really have indoor facilities, and so if it's raining or if you can't get folks into practice before it gets dark outside, it could be a little difficult to get done. So this again is just a really great alternative. We were just messing with the brand new machine a little while ago that Golf Zone just released in November. We're the only one anywhere near here that has this machine. It also has pressure plate technology built into the floor, so you can kind of see where your weight distribution is as you're going through your swing. So on top of just all of the different analytical data you can get from a number standpoint, you get the video footage feedback, so you don't have to have a second person there videotaping you. If you're into the numbers and you know you're that kind of person, you can't get any better.
Yeah, and over 200 courses to choose from, and here at ProSwing as well, lots of liquid refreshment and other fun things, and right next door to Bonefish. So
that's right. Yeah, we partner with them, and they've been great.
We'll see you again tomorrow, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for
Appreciate
coming out.
you.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah,
We'll do
see
it.
you
Don't worry,
tomorrow.
you'll be back tomorrow. I
Yep.
promise you. That's Stephen Colwell. Appreciate it. Ed
All right,
Bird,
thanks,
thank
guys.
you. Thanks to Jordan Kay and Brad Muller as well. See y'all tomorrow.